Hold up, viewer. One thing for sure, it is getting closer and closer for Jesus to return. One thing that you have to do is stay prayed up and fasting in your word, put the full body armor of God on, and be prepared to deal with what we're going to face in the end. Miss Celestial back with another prophetic message. Make sure y'all stick around to the end.
As you are going forward, you are going to be praying Psalm 91 and Psalm 23 and Psalm 51 on rotation. You're going to make time for those Psalms in your day. You're going to make sure that your life is soaked in the prayer of repentance that you can find in Psalm 51. You're going to make sure that your home is underneath the covering and the protection that Psalm 91 gives. That God will keep you under his wings. That God will be your shield and your buckler. That no evil will come near your door, which is very important because evil is going door to door in many cities now with a battering ram and dragging people off. Psalm 91 is the protection and the assurance of the Lord. It's better than fire insurance. It's better than flood insurance. It's better than home insurance. It's better than life insurance. Psalm 91 is the promise of the living God, that he is your God and that he will be there and walk with you in his own presence by his Spirit, keeping you from calamities and disasters that stand up in the noonday, from the evil that walks in the night. And his angels will keep you and bear you up in the palms of their hands, that you will not hit your feet against a stone. Psalm 23 is the provision psalm. It's what people who don't have it should be saying instead of, I don't have it. They should be saying Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. If you're in a position where you don't have it and you confess you don't have it, then obviously you're going to eat the fruits of your confession. If you're in a position where you don't have it and you confess that the Lord is shepherding your life and you're not going to want, and you continue to confess it and to give him thanks and say, I know you're going to provide it, then obviously he watches over his word to perform it. Jeremiah chapter 1 and verse 12. Then he's going to move and do something for you, as many people are testifying. Learned in exalting yourself above the word of God. I'm not sure who's contacting people and telling them that the way they think things are going to go is the way they're going to go. I said that if you think that you are smart, God is shrewd. And I said recently that you need to look on the dictionary very quickly and see what the difference is between smart and shrewd. Smart is smart, but a shrewd person is smart and cunning and dangerous. So the shrewd person is scarier than just somebody who's smarts. Anyone in school can have smarts. It takes a certain sort to be shrewd. Flee from the midst of Babylon. I had said in the earlier prophecy that there were some scriptures I was going to look at, the one I just posted. Just a moment, please. The prophecy of Yah's judgment that is called I Will Proceed. I just received that message today. Yesterday, August the 16th, and God was saying that he definitely plans to go ahead with all the judgments that he has spoken against the United States, all the judgments, all the punishments, all the natural disasters, all the wars that are prophesied to happen here. And I can already see that people are not keeping up. People are not keeping up with how many videos are being put out. People are also not keeping up with the pace of the Lord's words. And that is because the words will be hitting in a certain way. And that is what birth pains feel like. We're all in the midst of birth pains as if we're all pregnant women that have now reached the time of their quickening. And the Lord was saying to me before I put this camera on that, Celestial, some people are literally just watching you to watch you. Some people, a lot of people, actually, the majority of people simply tune in to watch. And their excuse as to why they're not doing anything is, well, what can I do? There's just so much going on. But the analogy that came to me is that, have you ever received an eviction notice? Have you ever received an eviction notice? Or let's flip it around. Maybe you've decided that you don't want to live in the house anymore and now it's time for you to move on. And you put in your eviction notice. I'll be leaving at the end of September. That's when I'm leaving. And you do this maybe 3 months before and you do the necessaries. You go out and you get the moving boxes. You make sure to stop On your normal run, when you're shopping, you stop and think, oh yeah, I'm going to need tape. And you're gathering what you need, but you're gathering it at your pace. And there's this odd thing that happens when you're moving. You always feel that you have more time than you have. You tend to drag your feet and you tend to waste precious time doing things like, I've always loved this piece, looking at the art on the walls. I'm not sure I want to part with it. I'll figure that out. And so you put it on the side, and then it's time to put your closet down, downsize your closet a little. Maybe you're moving to a smaller place. Maybe you're moving overseas and you can't take as much. But now it becomes this worthless thing of, oh, this dress looks great on me. You haven't worn it in 3 summers, but it looks great on me. You know what? I think I'll hang on to that. And you start hanging on to things. And basically you start dilling and you start dallying and you're packing, but you're packing at what you think is your preferred pace. Then you look up and it's a week. You look up and it's a week. And in this New York that is owned by Jews, there's no going back. Can I have an extra? There's nothing like that. Somebody's already secured that apartment. That man has already celebrated that he's not going to skip a month of rent. There's nothing like that. People in New York will literally be at the door. And if you're not gone, it's unfortunate. They're going to be moving in as you're trying to move out. That's how it is in this city. That's how it is in a lot of places. Time is money, and your unpreparedness is not my emergency or my problem. So you find a lot of people, they begin to spin out of orbit. They begin to spin. Now when they're running out of time, this is when mistakes are made. This is when key components get missed. And that is because who moves under duress is not wise. Who moves in the beginning is the wise one. All the people who tune into this blog from Ghana, I guarantee you, the pineapple in their mouth is sweet. It's non-GMO. They're rubbing their feet together. They're living for probably $400 a month. You cannot do anything in America for $400 a month except wish and pray. A person like myself, a few fruits and a few packets of meat. It was $98 that I left at the store 2 days ago. And in another week or so, I'm going to have to go and repeat it, because if I don't eat all the fruit, it's perishable. My money's going to go to waste. There are people right next door in Mexico. They're rubbing their feet under their covers. They're looking at me and thinking, yeah, we moved in 2020. The minute we saw COVID, the minute we saw how the government was moving, we are gone. Lots of families stared into the face of a Gestapo government that can command a nation of people to stay home, command a nation of people to separate from their jobs. That's not all. Command a nation of people to inject a substance into their body or else. And those people thought, if I wanted to live in North Korea, I would live in North Korea. I would have been born there. I would have been North Korean. The second they open these doors on this so-called lockdown, I'm out. Those people took everything that they could and they're gone. They've been gone 5-6 years. They don't care. They don't pay taxes here anymore. You ask them where their U.S. passport is, their birth certificate, their citizenship is, they don't know. They don't even know if they used it to light the barbecue last week. They're gone. People will sit here under an eviction notice and say, but where are we supposed to go? It's almost as if you say, but where are we supposed to go? Then suddenly a little waiter hat appears on my head and an apron in front of me. And then all of a sudden I become responsible for where you're supposed to go. Because that's what happened. Jeremiah prophesied, flee from Babylon. And then he was like, I think you should go here. And you look like a sunny destination. I think you should go here, because that's what happens. You prophesy and then you also take responsibility for how the prophecy plays out on the other side of the camera. I'm not the only Christian in America. Apparently there's millions and millions of us. So that means that everybody should be able to approach Jesus Christ to find out what they're supposed to do, where they're supposed to go, at what pace, at what speed. God is basically trying to tell you that if you keep thinking that you're going to stay here, whether it's stay here with that house, and God hasn't actually told you definitively, because some people are able to pray and he tells them, no, for you, I want you to stay here. That means that God already has your ending. Your victorious ending here, your ending through the entire Handmaid's Tale that's going to play out here. Then that means you don't leave. For others, you're seeking God for wisdom. You're seeking God to know where's the oil and the flour for this journey. But the idea that you will be doing it under an eviction notice that is playing out at your pace, and it's not playing out as if it's the last 3 days. The last 3 to 2 days of a move are the absolute worst. You need a vacation from what you've been through. You need a vacation from the amount of things that tried to go wrong, that did go wrong, and that completely blindsided you, went way past going wrong. Whoever is using this time to just conversationally visit, to use the time to conversationally, what's she talking about? What does that mean? It may be shocking for a lot of people. That does not exempt you from the fact that there's a timer. You do know that, right? The fact that you're new, the fact that you're confused, the fact that you're nervous, none of that exempts you from the fact that America has a timer. The Lord keeps saying to me, it's time, it's time. It is such a pressurizing thing on my little human heart. I'll be sitting, doing something. I'll be putting some food in my mouth. I'll be walking. I'll be coming home on the train or on the Uber. Celestial, it's time. It's time. It's time. He's been doing that for 2 months. It is a pressurizing thing. And yet every single day I wake up and I'm performing exactly what I know he wants me to do. And I will keep doing it until it's no longer it's time. It will actually be the day. Whatever that day is, when we wake up and see it. No matter how much you flood here, no matter how much you write comments, here's the stark reality that most of you are not getting. When it comes to crunch time, you will not be in my house and you will not be in the internet. You will be at your house with whatever you thought was necessary to do. Because on that day, that's it. There's no more prep time. On that day, it all goes live at your house. And then the measure of your preparation, the measure of your prayers, the measure of do you listen and actually act on the multiple steps of advice that you get here in between the prophecies on that day, exactly how you built the house. If it's sand, if it's wood, if it's brick, if it's whatever you built, that's the day you will find out what you built. And that's the day you're going to start learning in real time what you should have done, which you now can't fix. That's the day 1,000 million cries will go into the air for mercy. Definitely out of the Christians' mouths who thought, no, this part wasn't supposed to happen. I should have been raptured. I'm sorry, there's been a mistake. There's been a mistake somewhere because something hideous has happened and I'm still here. That's not what the internet told me. That's not what the prophets told me, the one that I called prophets. That's not what they said. There's been a mistake. There'll be 1,000 panicking people, 1,000 melting down people, but the worst people will be the people who will feel that deep, bitter taste in their mouth from knowing, man, I knew beforehand, man, that lady said, man, I heard everything. I'd been watching for 3 years and look at me here, caught out like a fool. To hear and not respond, to hear and not prepare. There's no other designation for you but the fool of Solomon's Proverbs. Flee out of the midst of Babylon. August the 17th, 2025. The first. Working from the age of 3 and dying at the ripe old age of 13. A wasted life, Yah is saying, cut short through a mud pit accident, or when the mining holes that they will always send the smaller boys into, smaller girls into, go in there. We saw this and that. We've looked on the seeker scope. You know that thing they give you for a colonoscopy? We've sent the little robot in and it literally saw diamonds in the walls, pickable diamonds. You're going to take this little pick and we want you to squirm in there and get as many as you can. Child goes in 2, 3, 5 times. Every time the pick is sending microfractures into the wall. You think they don't know that? They know that. But there's plenty more people where 13-year-old Jack came from. Every time he comes out, he's relieved. It's the end of a shift. Every time he comes out, they count it a win. More raw diamonds in the little cart that they give him to take in there. Until one day, it's the end of the road for Jack and the pig. The only thing these people regret is that Jack had filled the cart before the wall collapsed and they didn't get his last cart of diamonds. That's all they think. Somebody dies without love, without comfort, without peace, without nothing. And God says that they simply mark it as how much labor did Jack give before we couldn't use him anymore. And God says, you're going to pay me for these souls. America, you're going to give me a reckoning for each life lost down there in the darkness. Tunnels going all over the world. They're connecting to something. No tunnel leads to nothing, and then it's a usable tunnel. No. If a tunnel is going as far as India, how do you get to India without going over the water? That means that you can walk to India or cart to India. There's a way to get to India without flying there and without being hampered by water, and that way is under the ground. And if Yah is talking about technology that is also centuries old, perhaps we now understand even better. Before there was man under that ground where Nephilim was staying dry. Because perhaps who built these cities? Who hollowed out massive 15-story high or more subterranean tunnels? These are things that we need to then, if that's your thing, to go and ask God. But these are simply things to have in the mind. Yah tells us these things that the mind not be limited. You know how difficult it is to deal with a God outside of the limits when your brain is inside such tiny, narrow limits. I never heard this from Joyce Meyer before. I never heard this in church. That's why I'm suspicious of it. And God is so vast, seeing so many things. He cannot communicate to his church because his church is on some type of, I never heard. I'm not sure. This is why I don't trust it. We don't trust you. That can't grow unless a seed falls into the ground and dies. It remains alone. That's what's not trustworthy. A person who claims to know a God who's ever expansive in his majesty, and the person themselves is still the same since they got saved in 1981. That is what is frightening. That's what's not to be trusted at all. So God is now talking about a form of lightning that is more powerful than present day electricity. Electricity itself, he says, it's old. It's older than you've been told, and there are more powerful forms of it than what you're allowed to see and handle. Can you imagine electricity that can put you to death if you increase the voltage on a fence? If the hairdryer falls into the water, that's the end of you. Yah says there's more powerful forms of electricity, and there's also travel by lightning. Travel by a form of lightning that is even greater than the electricity itself. How does one travel in a subterranean tunnel through lightning? Actually, there was something I was seeing here. I am seeing an underground train station, in that all train stations, of course, are underground, but this one is even more so, meaning that it's deeper under the ground than even where our subways stop. And the people that I see using it are from a very old time, because they're all wearing top coats and top hats, and the women are wearing also bonnets with parasols, with big ball gown dresses that spread out. And the train station was like this. Our subways are closed in that here is the wall, okay? Here's the wall that the subway, let's say here's one wall of the subway. And then the train comes in, and the train is a closed capsule. The train is a shut capsule. And then it has doors, and we get in the doors, and then it closes, and then we go like that. And I guess we're in the closed capsule because it's protecting us. But what I was seeing is a little cart came up. The same little cart that runs along the rails, that you fill it as a slave down there and then it goes. A little cart came up with a door that could open and close exactly like a normal door. And the man opened the door as if to say, after you, and the woman got in. And then they went, and it was deeper under the ground, and there was lights in that train station. There's no lights in the Victorian era. We're told that those people used gas lamps. That's what the history says. But there was lights the same square light, big rectangle light in a claw along the walls, and they got into the cart, and then the cart went off like that underground. And another thing I saw was people in top coats, hats, muffler, you know. I think the muffler is the thing that you put on your hands like that. Something like that. A muff, actually. Yes, a muff. You put your hands like that when it's cold. And the big skirts and everything. And it was almost like a fair. But the only thing that caught my eyes with this fair is that they had lights. They had electricity. They had little fairy lights. And the central attraction was something like that, where the fairy lights came like that, like a maypole. You know how a maypole has different strings and everything, but the fairy lights came like that. And I just saw it was so pretty. The problem is just, it was the wrong time of life. Those people didn't have no fairy lights. They didn't have anything like that. Edison hadn't yet stolen Tesla's invention and pretended. Please don't argue. Thomas Edison was a notorious thief. He was nothing but a person who got close to people who actually had ideas, manipulated the core of their ideas or the functionality of their ideas out of them, and then was able to always take it to market first. That man that you see on Wikipedia, that man that you see on Google is nothing but a very old, white-headed American thief. He's just flowing in the same vein of his ancestors and his descendants, stealing, lying, and taking credit for things that he never did. Lights were not supposed to be there. But that fair that I was seeing with those old style people, you know, when they go out with keep their hands warm and they have the big puffed up dress at the back, they were going somewhere, and there was a beautiful collection of lights at a time when these people were just not supposed to have lamps, because they were always like, "Hello, mother," in the movies, and holding the candle and the gas lamp. But that is not what I saw while God was talking to me and telling me that there's ancient technology in secret, and there's things that exist beneath the veil that he's going to tell me about. He says, so you can tell it to them. And this part, the Lord did have to chastise me a little, because when he said the world could get electricity for less than 1 or 2 households a day, I was thinking the electricity that they charge us is in a 30-day cycle. 30-day cycle. Is God saying that two homes, their 30-day cycle light, their daily light could power the world? I had to ask. I said, Lord, are you sure it's 1 or 2? Or maybe more than? And he just interrupted me right there, and he said, I said 1 or 2 households can provide what you're paying, can provide the world with the power that it needs. So whatever this thing is, especially if it's approximated to lightning, which is billions of times more powerful than the electricity in our homes, but yet is free. What did Benjamin Franklin really discover with that kite? And so we continue. Being able to travel to India without going over water, using subterranean tunnels that go all over the world, even further afield than that. Traveling that is facilitated, the Lord says, by a form of lightning that is more powerful than electricity that exists today. Electricity, God says, being even older than the official date that we are given, and existing in forms more powerful than anything we've ever been allowed to see and handle. Cheaper too, cheaper. 1 or 2 households using ancient technology, Yah says, that is being withheld from you. Why? Because they haven't found a way to explain where it came from. That's one. And then number 2, they haven't found a way to make money off it to the exclusion of themselves. And we already know who this themselves is. So God says there's ancient technology and ancient wisdom that exists in secret, and only a few people know about it. But when he is ready, he will tell me, and then I will be able to bring it here. About the tunnels of travels to other countries, I did not see it. I just sensed that you can get to far away destinations very fast, much faster than if you take a plane. And I sense that the elites have been traveling this way for a long time, along with doing other things that they never tell us about. And one thing, the Lord said 2 words. I'm going to give you the 2 words, okay? The first word was, as I was writing this prophecy, he kept saying Cascadia, Cascadia, Cascadia. And I'm going to tell you that that Cascadia is not speaking of any faraway place or whatever. Cascadia is the Lord referring to the subduction zone, the Cascadia subduction zone. The Lord is still bringing to mind this California earthquake. And he was saying, as he kept saying Cascadia, Cascadia, he said, it's going to blow. It's going to explode. Now come to find, through the diligent efforts of those who actually go on the internet to look, that that place has multiple underwater volcanoes that the experts of the day are saying are starting to move up and get active and all that. The second word that the Lord gave me, which I have to admit startled me, was Tartaria or Tartaria. Now, this Tartaria place is very much, I guess you would say that people believe it is like Atlantis, okay? I've never really, there's only so many hours in a day, and you have to be judicious with your time, which is why sometimes when I come here after giving a prophecy, that is basically telling people, please prepare your life, prepare your children, make sure that you don't have too many assets, make sure that if you do have too many assets, turn some of it into money, turn some of it into whatever it is that Dave Ramsey told you to turn it into, so that you can be prepared to live a better life when you leave this place. And then people will come here and be wondering, you said in the prophecy that God said this. Why do you think God said that? Ma'am, I don't care. I don't care. He said it. We only have so many hours in the day. There's so much to do. I find life to be so busy, and I have no one in my life right now, just me. And I can barely put things together for just me and manage this channel and manage my life. So the fact that you want to go through an entire 2-hour prophecy and then pick one thing to roll your brain on, you roll on. Just don't request that my brain roll with you. That's not how it's going to go here. When the Lord tells me something, He's said it. You make your peace with it how you want to. So Tartaria is not something that I've looked into. I first saw it, I would think, about 2023. But the way that people were arguing about this thing on a comment thread of one of these videos that show you the giants in the landscape, which is something that God has already showed me. The fact is, though, that when you see it in a YouTube video, it's very unsettling. It's very scary, because I've been saying here for years that these things will wake up. If you see a gargoyle sitting on the roof of a church, even if it's not a real gargoyle, right? Even if it's a stone one that the church made, when magic enters the world and the world becomes, every time I do this, you who are listening, you can't see me. I'm doing my fingers as if I'm running silky cloth through it. The world is going to become like this. The world is going to become so tangible. It's going to become so real that if you have crocodile effigies in your house that you got at the Little River Indian tribe when you went on holiday, they will wake up. The world is going to become so rich with an alternate form of being. Magic is going to come back into the world. That is the only way that I can put it. That is the only phrase in my heart when I see this time period. Magic will come back into the world, and there will be enough magic for many dead, frozen, paused things to open their eyes and wake up. And it's going to be worse than Night at the Museum, because Night at the Museum is just a movie. Night at the Museum is in the TV. It's not at your house. It's not in your neighborhood. Life is going to come back into this world. And so I was watching a video like that where they were showing all the giants that are frozen in a tree, a giant that is sleeping on the ground. I mean, the thing, it's not recommended evening viewing, if you ask me. So I saw that place mentioned, and the thing within it had 100 comments of people arguing back and forth. And it's supposed to be some kind of place that was almost exactly like Atlantis in terms of its unbelievable advances. I think it was somewhere out there in the Asias. So it's somewhere out in Asias, okay? Not like Atlantis. That was more Western, I think. So Tartaria is this place that is said to have, among other things, severely advanced form of, they were a people who were supposedly people who had electricity far before the time that it was ever, please excuse me, the light is fading, so I have to now move judiciously with time, but I'm almost finished. They were people who were supposed to have forms of travel that exceeded the timing of when they existed. They definitely, this business of electricity was definitely something that they were known to have. And that is about all I know about them. But what the Lord said to me today is he said the word Tartaria. And what I heard, I thought he said Tantaria. So I put it into Google to see what that is, because when he said Cascadia, I knew, okay, the subduction zone. God is talking again about this earthquake and the damage that it will cause. But then when I looked for Tantaria, Google will always fix it for you and then say, do you mean Tartaria? And that is indeed the place. And Yah says that it is indeed, or was indeed, a real place. It is not a place of myth. It is not a place of legend. It is not a place of stories. It is a real place that had its own peculiar style of architecture, its own peculiar style of education, its own peculiar style, and definitely electricity and all the advancements that whoever on the internet says they have. It is just unfortunate that I do not know what they say they have. This is just the broad understanding that I had when I briefly looked into it, and I abandoned it because there's so much reading on it that I had to make the value decision. I'm not going to pursue this thing in depth because I have prophecies, I have life, I have a job, I have sleep. There's some rabbit holes that I just cannot go into, but I know that Yah said, tell them that the place is real, was real. So there is that. The last thing that happened when I was writing this prophecy, okay, did I mention that the carts come, these carts, the Victorian era carts that were in the deep tunnel where they were not supposed to have electricity and whatever, is that the cart will come and then you open and get in and then you ride to the next station, but super fast. So what God was showing me was a form of bullet train system that should not have existed when people were carrying parasols, long gloves, and were still having a bustle at the back of their dress. That is not what was supposed to be happening, because they basically told us that those people rode horses and then they upgraded to carriages. They had gas lamps. They had no telephones. They had to send everything by telegraph, coming soon, miss you, and things like that. And now God is showing me that there was a train station. You get in and then shh to the next station and shh to the next station, like that. That is what I was seeing, but with people in obviously clothing that's not us. We don't even have that, where we can get into a train and ride without covering at the top, and yet somehow the slipstream and everything is not messing us up. So the last thing that I saw as I was writing these prophecies takes a lot. As I took a break just to think about what God was saying to me and to hear his voice, because you have to make sure that you're hearing his voice. I saw something on the desk like black ants. I saw something on the desk like black ants. And it didn't actually look like ants. What it literally looks like was when you burn your toast so bad that the toast is a write-off, and you know it's a write-off, but you're still just trying to see what you can do about salvaging toast. So you get the knife and you start to scrape it off, and obviously it's going to come off in these chunks. It's going to come off in chunks. Well, I can't show you the size because it would be too small. It's going to come off in chunks that are definitely bigger than an ant, but some of them will come off and be very small, ant-sized. I saw on the desk on the desk and like splashed across my computer these little black crumbs. And at first I thought, what? This wasn't there before. And then as I looked, the little black crumbs started to move, and even moved on my hand. And I snatched my hand away from what I was seeing. I snatched my hand away, but when I looked at my hand, they were still there. They were still on my laptop. They were still on the thing. And I was thinking, oh, I'm seeing, this is not real. But I'm seeing, and as I looked, the Lord said, flies and gnats. Flies and gnats. And I instantly thought, and this is why I said at the beginning of the prophecy, that the place that where we are, honestly, as you have watched my mood change as I've moved through this prophecy, that is exactly how it was moving the first time when the Lord was taking me through the devastation of knowing that we are locked into our final judgment here in America and we're going to get it no matter what. Anyone who still has a mindset like maybe God could change his mind, you are a stubborn and a very rebellious person, and you deserve every single bit of the parabolic arc of the shock that is coming to you when you realize that all the foolish hope that you were holding on to was exactly that, a fool's hope, because you were told what was coming and you continue to insist in pride. We can still pray. You're not Nineveh. You never were. You don't have the humility and the fasting ability. You never were. It was always going to go this way. But then when we came into these technological advances and everything like that, and now we get to this point where I was seeing this movement like chunks of black toast, like ants, the Lord said, flies and gnats, or gnats and flies, gnats and flies. Gnats and flies, ladies and gentlemen, are the third and the fourth plague of the Exodus. The third and the fourth plague of the Exodus story. A long time ago, in 2022, I sat and I made a video that is called The Plagues of Egypt. And in that video, I explained that God said that before the end times are out, we will see all 10 of the plagues. So far, the one that keeps coming, that everybody is always shocked by, it happened in Jamaica, it happened in China, it has recently happened at the Sea of Galilee, is that waters turn red. Red rain has fallen in India. China has had a body of water turn red. India has had red rain, and the Sea of Galilee just recently turned red. And I know for sure that the water turned red somewhere in Jamaica, and the people were not having it. They were not having it. They were so shocked and moved by that. Some body of water turned red, and you guys in Jamaica, you know, I think there's a bridge on top of it because it was everywhere on social media when it happened. And people were saying, no, this is a terrible sign. This is not a good sign. So Yah said in that 2022 prophecy that all 10 of the plagues will be seen, including the final devastating one, the death of the firstborn. And when I saw these little black things that looked like they were just moving like little pieces of toast, the Lord was telling me that we are now coming into the season where this earth is about to start reporting huge clouds of gnats, which is a type of flying insect, as well as flies. Everybody's known and hated nemesis, at least myself. Because when they came in the plague, they were crawling all over the people, in their noses, in their ears. They are meant to be an irritant. And also, please remember, especially with flies, they have absolutely no training. They crawl on all forms of waste and refuse. And then coming to land on people, we are basically talking about the entry into times of diseases. So you have heard the prophecy. I will proceed August 16, 2025. And I will definitely be back with at least one more prophecy today because the Lord is saying work, work, work. I am Celestial, and this is the Master's Voice Prophecy blog. Thank you for being with me. Thank you to those of you who support the channel. Please do not interact with any strange person in the comments. You have to be more discerning when you see who's talking to you in the comments. If I'm the one responding to you, my name will always be circled in black. That is how you know it's the original channel. All the other fakes will have Master's Voice Prophecy blog XX2-15 or misspellings. They are all scammers. Please do not give these people money. I never ask you for money. All I ask for is your time, your attention, and to behave while you are here. That's about it. Please stop giving people your PayPal, your financial information. Please stop sending them emails. Please stop interacting with them. They are scammers that are trying to back end your financial information and bankrupt you. That is not why you're on the internet, to get scammed of your life savings just because you're watching a particular channel's videos. You have to be more discerning. You have to be more wise. Please make sure that you, as an American, will stop sitting on your laurels and go and get your passport. One day they will cut off the getting of passports. One day they will hike it up to $700. And then you will realize that getting $140 wasn't that bad, that you could make that mark. $700 will be an almost unattainable mark for anyone who doesn't have $1,000 to spare. Stop being the enemy of your own soul. Stop being so resistant and hard-hearted. Stop allowing your brain to gaslight you that nothing is going to happen. Plenty has already happened and plenty more is on the way. You have to be more responsible than you're being. You simply have to. Until I see you again, God bless you, and until then, goodbye. For God has said in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 that the parts of us that cause greater shame, meaning our naked parts, he says, to those parts we attribute greater modesty. In simple English, cover your bits. That's what the Bible is saying. Cover your bits. Anytime you see a woman or a man who wants to highlight and define his bits in the front by basically putting saran wrap in different pieces of cloth material and calling it pants, you're looking at a son of Lucifer. You don't need to go near that type of man. There's nothing in him but lies and lust. In that order, if that is what you're looking for in a man, then follow him, because his footsteps are like the footsteps of the adulterous woman. Her footsteps lead down to hell. His footsteps, because he's a man and there's more power in him, he's going to take the elevator. He's not using footsteps. He's just going to zoom you on down into hell. You'll pop up on TikTok lying and then crying and telling people, don't date, don't get married. No, we're not going to listen to you. It all started with the outfit that you thought was fire. In the subterranean place, they make the people work naked sometimes. It literally looks like a version of Amistad, if Amistad had been honest and showed us what slavery was really like. 12 Years a Slave is one of the few movies that comes closest to the dehumanizing nature of slavery. Nakedness was used a lot in slavery because when you are naked and other people are wearing clothes, your mind literally begins to feed on itself and your sense of self becomes highly, highly, highly unstable and attacked. Now, if you go to these orgy parties where everybody's naked, then guess what? The dress code is naked. You're fitting in. But when everybody else around you is clothed, and you don't have clothes, you are being dehumanized. Likewise, when you are put in a forced work environment where all your overseers and everybody else is dressed like the Divergent crew, and then you are wearing no clothes with chains, working, or worse, the clothes that you have been given have literally been allowed to rot on you. You know that clothing rots when we don't wash it, right? When it becomes just caked with our dirt, our funk, our filth over time, because of not being given showers. These people, the condition that I would see these people in, it is astonishing to me that I don't know if I even have any of these dreams written down, because I always keep my dreams. But the minute God started to say, the people under the ground, it was like an old memory in me just burst. And all these dreams that I've seen in the Wild West, in the movies of the Wild West, when they go mining, there would be this little mining cart that rides on a track, that rides on a wheel. They have a lot of that stuff underground, and they use that to travel. This prophecy is going to the place that God took it, and the place that God took me today, eventually my tears had to dry up. They definitely started with tears and with a heavy heart, but the way that God was moving through the prayer, the prophecy, I ended up in wonderment. Like, what is God really talking to me about? So they have these mining carts that move, and then the mining cart will sit at a certain place, right? And they will have this light bulb that has, it looks like a claw. You know when a light bulb is in the wall and then they put like a cage or a claw on top of the light bulb to keep it safe in an underground place? Anyway, it's like that. They have these big square light bulbs. It's not a bulb. It's about this big, like a rectangle light, and then it will have a cage on it like a claw to give light. And then the cart is there. The cart is paused along whatever the work area is. I do not know what these people are digging. I don't know what they're digging. The tunnels under the ground go everywhere around the world. I don't know how they can go everywhere around the world because we have large areas of seas, for instance. So my understanding doesn't quite get that. But God was saying that they go all the way to India. Now, to get to India, you need to fly. You need to fly to get to India. But apparently there's a way to walk or ride to India that is even faster than a plane. It is all transparency here. So when I have the understanding of a thing, I give you the understanding of the thing. When the understanding of the thing is not with me, I will prophesy with the full certainty that if God said it, it is so. And so I've had these dreams. That one, that was the worst one, because that dream left me definitely with the clarity that it's not everywhere that you go and it's not everything that you eat. And that's fine, because my parents raised me with the understanding that you eat at home and take care of yourself at home before you will go to any event and start acting out there and pretending like you're not fed. So that part. But those who just like to go everywhere and drink everything, I want to let you know that you can look at something properly advertised. You can look at something that is big. They will set it up and they will snatch all 300 of you. Every last one of you that comes, just in case you think in this world it's not possible. There's so many of us. If you ever go anywhere and think, oh no, I'm safe here because there's so many of them. The reason that there's many of you is that because that's the exact number they need. You that can't stay at your house. That's the precise number they need. That big 500 member all white party, that big, come to the yacht. The first 300 on the yacht, then we're going to sail off and have the party offshore. No. The very first two sips of whatever it is that you're sipping is guaranteed to make you start to taste sound and taste color. And that boat that they said, oh no, we're just going off about 20 minutes from the shore to avoid the cops and everything. No, that boat is continuing to set sail because you're going to Turkey, both male and female, to service people in the brothels. Don't ever think that a crowd is your safety. So that is what I've seen. I've seen wide angle shots into these cities where you're standing like you're standing on a top row and you can count at least 15 rows down, 15 levels down. Almost like a honeycomb beehive. Almost like a honeycomb beehive. They are very, very deep in the ground and very, very big. And that's why the Lord was telling me before he gave me the prophecy today in the afternoon, he was telling me in my sleep last night that there's subterranean caverns. And I was just thinking, okay, subterranean cavern. Okay, maybe a little hill, maybe a little scoop. No, it's not a little scoop. Memory is bringing back to me that they have people there. They will have you in clothes. You know, your clothes will wear off until the breast part eats out. Your clothes will wear off until the strongest part that will stay is the neck part. The neck part will stay, the zipper part will stay, and the cuffs will stay. The rest of this part, with continuous use, I saw that it tattered. Basically, a person would have a cuff, a person would have the sleeve joint. This whole part will be torn out. Their whole front will be out. Their whole backside will be out. The pants would be so torn. Basically, they look worse than any kind of ragamuffin that you have ever seen in a Charles Dickens novel. And that person is still laboring. A lot of black people with hopeless eyes. You know this actress that is called Lupita Nyong'o, the way she's able to just make those hopeless eyes of terror. That's what black people were like under the ground, working. All nationalities, small little Asian boys carrying their little soup. You know when a child gets soup and he's so happy. These people don't even know what sunlight feels like. Then you are going to Super Bowl. Then you are going to NASCAR. Then when my video comes on your FYP, you are so annoyed. Click, block. I don't want to see this. Report to YouTube. Why? Because you want to stay in your complacent pig pen, Wilbur. You just want to stay in your place of comfort. You don't want to hear anything that could ever hold you accountable or cause you to face a reality that you don't want to face. So, God says that there's going to be a massive earthquake in the United States, and the subterranean cities that are under the ground are going to be exposed. Before, he was only talking about tunnels. He was talking about tunnels in Anaheim, which we all know is the home of Disney World, the home of trafficking children. But the thing is, the question is, people, where would the Anaheim tunnels be going? If you have tunnels under the ground and the tunnels go into all the little hotels, come to Disney World, come to Disney World, family fun. Then a tunnel is ending right behind a bathroom closet in a hotel. And they just sit there and they look through the tiny holes watching the family. 2 kids. Great. Don't be sloppy, Louis. Don't be sloppy. Just get the little one. The big one looks like too much trouble. He's 15. Kid looks kind of big. Nah, get the little one. He's 7. Those people can actually sit in that closet and go, psst, hey kid. And you know a 7-year-old. You know them. I can hear talking in the closet and the older brother's like, shut up. Don't bug me. Because he's on Snapchat with his boo. And that little one comes into the closet. Those closet doors move. They shift. They move. They're nothing but clapboard. They lead into tunnels. America, let's talk about it. How many people are reporting that they heard something happened to them. There was a tussle, but they managed to fight it off. And then when their husband came into the same bathroom and pushed something, how many times have we seen on TikTok a whole huge cut out door that comes out as soon as you move the sink? As soon as you shift the sink actually moves the entire bathroom wall seamlessly aside. And then there's a whole tunnel going out that even the man, even a husband recording that, does not want to penetrate further into that tunnel. They'll just walk in for a couple of feet, record it, and come back out and put the video out. This is America. This is America. Sign into a hotel. The second you get into the room, single female. Yes, Caucasian. Yes, alone. Room 30 this. There's a key card cut already. How many women are saying that they woke up to find, if they hadn't put that little safety, you know that little safety thing? If they hadn't slid it across on the metal rack, a man is opening housekeeping. How are you housekeeping at 2 o'clock in the morning, sir? What are we doing here? What kind of cartoon is this? How are you housekeeping at 2 o'clock in the morning when I have a do not disturb sign outside? It's human trafficking. It is human trafficking. There's so many needs and purposes for it. But it was all the way in 2020 that I prophesied in the prophecy, Blood to Drink, that God showed me that America has endless altars and that they need to eat. They need specific 30-year-old black man blood for a ritual. They need specific red-headed. She has to have green eyes. Don't bring us a redhead with normal eyes. Don't bring us a blue-eyed one. The spell book, the recipe says red hair, green eyes. We need 3 little black children under the age of 5. Then the whole neighborhood is up in arms. People have pitchforks ready to lynch the police. Why? Because babies are going missing. Adults are going missing. The number of adults that are going missing is not as much as it was when I first started. It was mostly children they wanted. But guess what? The altars are hungrier now. I said this in 2022 or 2023. The Lord said that the devil is requiring more. He's requiring more from every servant, every worker. And I told you that even your pastors, you will start to see more and more the nonsense that they're saying, the wickedness that they do, because the devil is requiring all his servants to step it up. This is why God said to me, my already tired self, work, 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 work. He was saying it to me like that. And then I saw myself trying to outrun the fulfillment of this blog to finish, so that you would have heard everything, so that when it happens, I can legitimately tell you, God said that. God said that. He said it to me on this date. It doesn't matter if he said it to me in 2018 and I only got to make the video in this time, 2025. The date is on the prophecy. He said it. Don't give that thing to the devil. Don't dare give it and say bad luck has happened to America. That's a judgment. That's from God. The people are going into these cities, but the majority of the people in the cities are born there. And God said a great earthquake is coming to expose the cities. A great earthquake is coming to expose why Disneyland has all those tunnels. A great earthquake is coming to show that people are working naked, working in rags. They barely get enough food. They barely get enough water to keep them going to do the work. They have chains on their legs and their arms, and definitely in my dreams, I would see the chains. I used to wonder, why am I seeing people under the ground? What are these people doing under the ground? How did they get under the ground? When I say heinous conditions, when I say heinous, the kind of dream that you wake up from and you are just so low, so cryy. What are those people doing under the ground? Is this a depiction of hell? Is this a picture of hell? God, is that what it is? Is this hell? Is this a picture of what hell will be like? To have barely no clothes, to have everything drooping and torn on you? And then you just see them, he just presents them staring next to this cart that they're supposed to dig and put whatever it is that they're putting in that mineral cart. And then when the cart is full, then the cart goes like this along a track by itself. It doesn't need a person. It will just go along a little track, just like Disney. You know how they have the little things in Disney, they always show it to us. It just goes like that, carrying itself. And then another one just comes and sits. Then everybody just looks at it. Then everybody just starts digging to fill that one. So Yah says, with the discovery of these cities, that is when people will know how wicked America really is. These people have never been up here. Sunlight, the beach, a hot dog, swimming, proper showers, a bed, birds, elephants, everything. They've never seen it. They call here up top, above. And he says, it is a lifelong dream to those who have never seen the sky or the sun or the moon or felt proper wind on their face to come up top. And that's because there's a whole birthing economy under the ground. There's a whole birthing economy that doesn't go with a birth certificate. And that automatically means, as you will hear, there's no death certificate. There's no social security benefits. There's no job. There's no education system. All the things that we are seeking up here, striving for, pushing for, trying to get. There's nothing like that. They're born without documents. They're born without benefits. And from the day that they're able to, they work. This is literally slavery, because on the slave plantations, as soon as it was seen that you're able to hold the little thing to make a sheaf, you would get out there in the fields at usually age 5 and start making sheaves. You have to make a sheaf along with everybody else, because your purpose as a slave is to work. It's not to find self-fulfillment. It's not to pursue your dreams. You were made to work. Even if you are a product of love to your mother and father. Your mother's a slave, your father's a slave. They don't see you as the benefits of labor. They don't see you as something that brings in wages, you know. For an owner, to them, you're a child. But to Massa in the big house, you are nothing but an asset. Your birth is literally written down in his ledger the same way as he gets a new horse.
I tell you now, time is drawing near. Time is drawing near. We're going to begin to see some of the things in Revelation unfold. We're going to see more and more of the Bible, scripture, and Revelation unfold. Viewer, I encourage you to get closer to God. I encourage you to build your strength and your spiritual character and be ready. You have to be ready. Like a thief in the night. You have to be ready. Don't get caught off guard. This is your soul we're talking about. This is your spirit we're talking about. Be ready for the Lord to return so you can rejoice with him forever in heaven. But hey, everyone has their own thoughts and opinions. Make sure you drop down in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this video. See y'all next time.